If you're wondering what in the hell is this, it's called Let's Talk College Football. Nothing but college football, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to recap the week that was, which was opening week, Labor Day weekend, which had some fantastic matchups, some exciting games. We'll also talk about the Big 12, thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs off to all 10 of the Big 12 teams from this past week. And, by the way, a new segment nationally called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, in which I will highlight key national teams and tell you if I thought they did good, bad, or just flat out unacceptably, brutally ugly. And at the end, I'll have 5 games to pick, so make sure to check that out too. But let's begin in the Big 12 with thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs off. And you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not the biggest fan of the Longhorns, but when teams do well on this show, I will give them their props, and Texas definitely deserves a lot of credit. A major win for Charlie Strong and an opportunity maybe for his team to build upon it. I'm not saying that the Longhorns are a national championship contender. I'm not even saying that they're a Big 12 contender, but they are at least a factor in the Big 12. And from what I saw, even though it's just been one game, they look a lot better than what we've seen in previous years, especially offensively with the up-tempo offense. And Shane Buechele did a fine job at quarterback. And Tyrone Swoops, when his number was called, did real good, including the game-winning touchdown, of course, from the 18-wheeler formation. Kind of a unique name, huh? So Texas, already, signs are looking up for the Longhorns, who, by the way, for the first time in the Charlie Strong era, are ranked in the top 25 as a result of beating Notre Dame. Thumbs up as well to the Kansas State defense. I know K-State lost this past week, but it was to a top 10 team in Stanford, and K-State actually outgained the Cardinal by about 50 yards. Christian McCaffrey had 2 touchdowns, had 122 yards on the ground. Believe me, folks, watch Christian McCaffrey this year. He's going to have much bigger games against a lot of teams this season. K-State, I didn't think did that bad of a job against him, and I said it on K-State's Big 12 preview that I did a few weeks ago that the defense would be a big improvement, and so far you're seeing it, especially at linebacker. So look for K-State's defense to be one of the best in the Big 12, definitely one of the most experienced. And I thought that K-State in no way, shape, or form embarrassed themselves at all. They played a good game, even though they got beat by the Cardinal. Remember, K-State was within 6 points with about 4 or 5 minutes to go before the Cardinal put the game away. And Kansas, I'll give a thumbs up as well, too. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, they're playing Rhode Island. Not just an FCS team, but a bad FCS team. True. But the thing about the Jayhawks, they didn't win a game last year. And even when they did win in 2014, it wasn't like they won in lopsided fashion. Well, they got a win, and they got it in an impressive fashion. Now, I want to say this about Kansas, okay? Yeah, they're not going to a bowl game, and yeah, they're still going to finish in the bottom half of the Big 12 standings. But they've got familiarity now under David Beatty in the air raid attack, especially the receivers. And sometimes it takes time to really get acclimated into a new offense. And so far, you're seeing it, with Kansas, even though I know it was against Rhode Island. You need a beginning point, and you need to build upon something. And maybe last Saturday they found it against Rhode Island. By the way, if you think it's just going to be their only win of the year, according to Vegas, Kansas is actually favored at home this week to win their second game of the year. They're playing Ohio. Now, let's take a look at thumbs down. Thumbs down, of course, to my Oklahoma Sooners, and they deserve it. At times looking good, but at times looking lackadaisical, bad tackling, and, of course, the one-on-one coverages just weren't there. And offensively, too many mistakes in the second half and not enough utilization of the ground attack. Again, not taking anything away from the Houston Cougars, but Oklahoma knows that they could have played a better game, and who knows, maybe the outcome could have been different. And Iowa State, boys, could be a long year for Coach Campbell at ISU. Starting your season with a loss against an FCS team, and offensively, they did not look good at all. And thumbs down to the T.C.U. defense. Yeah, T.C.U. won their opener, but gave up over 40 points in the process, getting absolutely gouged in this game against an FCS opponent. And I thought TCU was supposed to be one of the best defenses around and the best D in the Big 12. They didn't look like it after week 1. Could be an aberration, but I guess if you're going to stink up a game defensively, do it against an FCS opponent, do it early in the year, and still get the win. But Chad Glasgow's D has a lot of work to do. Thumbs off, by the way, thumbs off to Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Texas Tech, and Baylor. Not fair evaluations at all. Yeah, all 4 won as expected, but they were playing much inferior competition. I think 3 of the 4 were playing against FCS teams and won impressively. West Virginia, beat Missouri. It wasn't by a lopsided score, but you never had a feeling that Missouri, who's bad, by the way, was ever going to win that game. So thumbs off to West Virginia, to Baylor, to Oklahoma State, and to Texas Tech. Can't really evaluate them after playing the games that they played against teams that they were expected to beat by double digits, and that's exactly what happened. Good. Florida State. Labor Day Monday night didn't start off good, though. Ole Miss and Chad Kelly was burying them. Ole Miss was up 28-6. You know what happened? Florida State woke up. Better quarterback play, better running attack, and the defense forced turnovers, forced mistakes, and it was an absolute blitz after that. In fact, after trailing 28-6, Florida State would go on to outscore the Rebels by a count of 39-6. FSU with the win, and they're going to definitely be a team to watch out for come college football playoff time. Of course, they've got some big games coming up in the next few weeks against Louisville and, of course, Clemson in October. This, to me, is the ultimate good. Look at this. Only 10 players are on the field for Nebraska as they attempt their first punt of the game. The 11th player was supposed to be Sam Foltz. Sam Foltz was killed a few weeks ago in a car accident. He was an all Big Ten punter, but more than anything else, a great friend and a teammate to the Husker Nation. The ultimate tribute, having only 10 players on the field on your first punt attempt. Doesn't really matter, but if you're curious, there was a delay of game penalty against Nebraska. Fresno State, their opponent, did the right thing and declined the penalty. We'll mention some other goods for the week. The Wisconsin defense, 260 yards is all they allowed against LSU. In fact, they gave up 257. Louisville quarterback Lamar Jackson absolutely rolled in the first half through a plethora of touchdown passes. Of course, we gave credit to Houston. They're going to be one of those teams that, if they run the table, they go 13-0. I don't see how you keep them out of the playoff. And Georgia, Kirby Smart, first game as Bulldog coach, the former Alabama defensive coordinator, beats nationally ranked North Carolina. Now we go to the bad. And Tennessee, wow, were they bad or what? Josh Dobbs has to get better at quarterback, and they were lucky that Appalachian State's kicker had an off day, missing an extra point and a makeable field goal in the fourth quarter. And, of course, Tennessee in overtime, fortunate that a fumble was recovered by a teammate for a touchdown. Otherwise, Tennessee would have been the biggest upset victim of the week. And UCLA has work to do, and you wonder if Jim Moore is on the hot seat now. Yeah, A&M's not an easy place to play, but UCLA, I guess I should quit drinking the Kool-Aid thinking that, this is going to be their year. I picked them to win 10 games. Fat chance of that happening after losing what I thought was a winnable game. Neither team really played that great, but, Trevor Knight in the end gets the game-winning touchdown, the former senior quarterback, and UCLA had dropped passes, made mistakes, and even though they came back from a large deficit to force overtime, couldn't finish the job in OT. So you wonder what kind of a year the Bruins are going to be in store for, and if this could be the last year for Jim Moore Jr. Now we get to the ugly, and USC in the beginning, things were looking fine for them. Okay, let's face it, things weren't looking that bad, and then just like that, and that, game's over against Alabama. The Tide, well, pardon the worn-out expression, rolls 52-6, and Clay Helton, his last three games, they've given up an average of about 50 points per contest. Mississippi State, blowing an easy field goal at the end, they lose to South Alabama. I mean, what's going on? Mississippi State, talk about a team that really could be in for a long season. How about this cheap shot by Josh Boutte on Wisconsin defender Dakota Dixon? The game's over. Whistle's blown, and he gets whammoed. Kicked out of the game, which does no good because the game's already over. There's only 50 seconds left to go. And by the way, LSU's about to go on the field for defense. Josh Boutte plays offense, so kicking him out of the game with 50 seconds to go when it's already over, what good does that do? Well, for what it's worth, Les Miles did suspend him for this week against what, I don't know if LSU's going to be able to handle life without Josh Boutte against Jacksonville State. I know that's a big order, but I guess LSU will just have to do without him. All right, let's now get to my 5 selections for the week. We're going to begin with UTEP against Texas. This line started at 28 for the week. Now it's gone up to 28.5. There's no way Texas is going to care about this game. There's no way they're going to be fired up to play it, okay? You're playing UTEP. And by the way, the next week, Texas plays Cal, who beat them a year ago in heartbreaking fashion. You think Texas, just coming off one of the biggest wins of recent history, beating top 10 Notre Dame and playing them on Sunday, which means you have a day less to prepare. You think Texas cares about the Miners? Now, Texas will win. They'll win by double digits, but not by 28.5 points. No way. Texas will not care about this game. They had all offseason to prepare for the Fighting Irish. UTEP is probably not even on their radar. So look for Texas to win, but I got UTEP covering the 28.5 points. Texas Tech versus Arizona State. Arizona State's a 3-point favorite. This game's going to be late at night, Saturday, from the desert. I'm more intrigued, though, by the total, which is 79.5. 79.5 points. I like the over. I think both offenses will roll in this game. So give me the over on 79.5 for Texas Tech, Arizona State. Then you have Iowa State versus Iowa, the Cyhawk Trophy. It's been close in recent years, but Iowa State just isn't very good. And Iowa, they're contending for a Big Ten championship. Give me Iowa minus the 15. And you got Arkansas and T.C.U. T.C.U. favored by 7.5. I know people think that Arkansas might pull up the upset. Keep in mind, though, the TCU, as bad as they were on defense this past week against South Dakota State, gave up much of those yards through the air, and Arkansas is a team that is designed for the run. So maybe for TCU, playing this one at home and going against a team that's not pass crazy, I think that helps the Horned Frogs. And remember, Arkansas barely got out with the win over Louisiana Tech. Razorbacks had to convert 2 fourth downs in the fourth quarter just to pull off a very narrow win. So I think TCU bounces back defensively, and I think TCU covers the 7.5. And finally, you got the game from the Speedway, home of this weekend's college football game between Tennessee and Virginia Tech. I guess having this game at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, which seats over 100,000, I guess that's not enough seats, right? Well, seriously, though, this game, if I were to offer my thoughts, I've got mixed feelings on it. On one hand, it's going to make history because it's going to destroy the old attendance record for a college football game. Matter of fact, over 150,000 plus are expected at this game at Bristol on Saturday night. Tennessee, an 11.5-point favorite. So from a attendance perspective, it's great. And, of course, college football will benefit from it because it will make a ton of money. On the other hand, though, sometimes bigger isn't always better. And I say this because of the Final Four, okay? Last 20 years, and by the way, this is never going back. Of course, Final Fours take place at football stadiums, okay? Indoor football facilities. Obviously, you can fit a lot more people, but you're obviously further from the action, too. You're further from the court. And in this case, most of the fans who will go to this game will be further away from the field than they would be at their typical football game. So bring your binoculars, and if something is obstructing your view between your seat and the field, don't be surprised. But I guess being there, you can say, hi, I attended the most populous college football game of all time. That is until they hold this at Indianapolis, or, by the way, at the Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, because you know it's going to happen again. And personally, I don't like that part of it. Do it one time, and then that's it. But talking about the game itself, Josh Dobbs of Tennessee last week did not impress me as a thrower. I think Tennessee wins this game, 11.5 points. Too much for my taste. Tennessee needs better play at quarterback. And if they don't get that, this will be a close game. I still think Tennessee pulls it off, but not by that point spread of 11.5. Too much for my taste. That does do it for my college football show. Let's talk college football. We'll be back later this week for my weekly matchup show, Oklahoma versus Louisiana Monroe, and post-game to follow sometime that weekend. And we'll be back next week for another edition of Let's Talk College Football. Thanks for watching.